Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Gus Wedekamp. I am the broadcast intern here for Coach's Corner, powered by Field Experience. Now, I'm here to introduce you to the series and to explain a little bit about what Field Experience is, what Coach's Corner is. So, Field Experience is a company dedicated to training the next generation of professionals, such as recent college graduates like myself, on soft skills, power skills that they need in order to succeed. Skills that 65% of employers say that prospective employees don't have enough of. So skills like accountability, coachability, multitasking, like I'll be doing today. I will intro you quickly, and then I'll be monitoring your different feeds for comments. So if you guys have questions for either Fran Fraschilla or Dr. Edwin Moses, be sure to send them in the comments section wherever you may be watching. And also mindset, which we will be focusing on today. And the host of this series of Coach's Corner is, of course, the esteemed Fran Fraschilla. We will get his info up. There were Fran's credentials there. Of course, great college basketball analyst for ESPN, over 20 years of coaching experience. And now let's welcome him into the broadcast.
How are you? Thank you, Gus. It's great to be here today. I'm really looking forward to being part of this fieldX Coach's Corner. I am someone who not only has spent a lifetime in athletics, but I have a growth mindset. I am constantly learning things that have helped me in my life and my career. And I feel strongly that no matter where you are at what point in your life or your career, that you are constantly looking to better yourself. And we are going to do that today with a very, very special guest, someone that is a contemporary of mine from an age standpoint. So I watched his career unfold in the 70s and 80s as a tremendous athlete, one of the greatest athletes our country's ever produced. But if you know about his background in education, you know that there is a symbiotic relationship between the success he had as an athlete, his success in the classroom, and the myriad of things that he has done since his incredible days as an Olympian that I think we can all learn from the standpoint of mindset. And so I'd love to bring in now, if that's Gus, that's what you want me to do, Dr. Edwin Moses. And I know we're going to put his bio up, but this gentleman is not only one of our country's greatest Olympic athletes. His record of consistency in his event will never be broken, in my opinion. Nearly 10 years undefeated in over 100 races. But his background is so interesting. As an outstanding student at Morehouse College, studying physics, engineering, utilizing that background to become a great athlete. And then he's done so many things in and out of athletics since then that I think we can all learn from his experience, and the idea that his athletic career is really a metaphor for his life, for the idea of a great mindset and how it could impact a lot of our fieldX students who are tuning in today. We are so thankful that you're going to spend some time with us today, the fieldX young people who I think can benefit from your career, but from the perspective of how you utilized your body and your brain to become not only the athlete you became, but also the person you are today, and how it can affect these young people. I'm going to read this because this is the fieldX mindset. The fieldX mindset performs every task with excellence, gives exceptional service, and goes the extra mile. Always, even when no one is watching, employers look for candidates with integrity and a fieldX mindset. With that, Dr. Moses, I want to ask you, how does the mindset of a high-achieving thinking athlete shape who you are today?
I think more so than anything, my mindset as an academic studying physics and engineering was the most important attribute that I had. Even going back to high school, where I had 5 years of mathematics and 2 years of chemistry, 2 years of biology, and year of physics in high school alone. So I was and came from an academic family, so I was very highly motivated on the academic side. Plus the fact that my dad was a Tuskegee Airman, so when it came to discipline and integrity, he did not play. And
Yeah.
I've got some battle wounds to prove that. But then when I went to college, studying physics and engineering, you know, in physics, the one thing about physics is that you can't cheat because they give you the answer. And the only thing you can do is get as close enough to the answer and showing your work as you possibly can. So there's a sense of integrity in being a physicist, and that your work is your pride. You can't cheat, and it's really up to you to do the best that you can. And in many cases, you never get to the answer because, you know, theoretically, if you could do every problem, then, you know, you could be as huge a figure in the sciences as Albert Einstein. So that had a lot to do with that academic backing, going to Morehouse, the school that, you know, really prides itself in ethics and morality. You know, the civil rights era. I was there when with Dr. King's son and Maynard Jackson and Bill Nunn, the actor, Spike Lee, Samuel Jackson. We were all there at the same time.
Wow.
So being around people like that really boosted my potential that I had no idea that I would ever achieve, is particularly in track. A year before, I knew that I wanted to, for example, make the cutoff point, make the time standard for the Olympic trials. And I figured if I did that, then that would be a feather in the hat of my track career. But then once things got started, I had the fortitude, I had the backing, and I just had the mindset to really go much further than anyone thought that I could, including myself. Yeah. So I was ready when the time come, and that really goes back to what the fieldX attributes of accountability and multitasking and soft skills and being able to have some experience and really just show integrity and do the work that it takes.
One of the soft skills that employers look at is something that was really a part of your DNA, and I'm sure your environment growing up, and of course at Morehouse, and that is consistency. You were the most consistent athlete in the world for a decade. You were undefeated all that time. How does consistency, what is that, what metaphor does that, what is the consistency on the track that you achieved? How is that a metaphor for success in life? And as an employee, particularly?
Mm-hmm. As an employee, I have to go back to physics once again. I wasn't the smartest guy in the physics class, and there were a lot of girls there from Spelman who became mechanical engineers and electrical engineers and aerospace. I was not the smartest one, but I was really hard to outwork. And I stayed with it when things looked grim for me in physics, because it's a very, very difficult major. So I just learned, and I remember I was talking to a friend just yesterday about some of the gear that I used to have when I was on campus. So basically my day was get up in the morning, go run at 6 o'clock on the streets because we had no track, have a class at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever it may be. But I remember that everywhere I went, I had probably a math book and probably 2 physics books and a lot of work to do. So every hour of every day that I wasn't going to class or eating lunch or training, I was studying. And I'm talking about all the time. If I had to take a bus to go downtown, I'd have a physics book open. If we were going to a track meet during the season, we'd be in the back seat of the station wagon with physics books open. Fortunately for me, I had other colleagues of mine that were actually on the track team that were physics majors and engineering majors as well. So we were quite academic. No one had time to play much, but I think that's one of the things that sealed my fate to be a consistent performer, and then to be able to get into a new environment that you may not be accustomed to, and be able to fall back on the fact that you can be consistent, you can outwork people, and you're curious.
and you budget. I assume obviously budgeting your time and utilizing your time wisely every minute of the day. In your case,
Yeah, there was no time to even budget. There was just not enough time in my case.
yeah,
So I became an expert in getting the impossible done, sometimes at the last minute, but just when you think you have no time and there's no way to find a solution. For example, our teacher used to give us one problem and tell us we can work together, go to the library, do whatever you want, go find a supercomputer, whatever, and give us 2 weeks. And we wouldn't have to go to class for 2 weeks. And it might be a 25-page solution, a very elegant solution involving multiple steps. And we would hustle together to get the job done. So I've always experienced a situation where I've always had to have my nose to the grind. And when it came to running and track and field, it was the same thing. I stayed on the track longer, no chitter chatter when I was out there. I didn't have time to waste because the longer I stayed out, the less time I had to study. And my classmates, when we got out of class at 4 o'clock, they were, on campus hanging out. Meanwhile, I'm at track practice. By the time I get back to school, eat dinner, it's 8 o'clock. I got to go back to my room and shower, try to get a little bit of recuperation. I might even not start studying until 9 o'clock in the evening. Meanwhile, all my colleagues, they can get out of class and go hit the books right away until dinner time, do it for another couple of hours and go to sleep. So I was always up late, always up early and always up late, and just work my way through it. So one of the things that I will say about myself is it was very difficult to outwork me.
Right.
Although I wasn't the top, I wasn't the best in track and field. I wasn't the fastest. I came out of nowhere at the last moment, but no one can outwork me when the chips are down. And so that's my pride.
That's great. One thing I want to really hit on before we get to Q&A, because this has been a part of your life and DNA, as I talked about. Among other things, you were the former chairman of the World Anti-Doping Agency's Education Committee. You've been involved with the IOC when it came to the anti-doping stuff. That speaks to the idea of ethics. And in the workforce today, I'm not sure ethics is taught. It's a soft skill, obviously. When you think of ethics and doing things the right way, it sounds like it came from home, it came from Morehouse. But how have ethics impacted your life since? And how important do you think it is in the workforce?
Well, I was very fortunate to go to Morehouse College because even though we had no track, very little coaching, no weights, no facilities whatsoever, I was just with a group of people, including my coach at the time, Coach Lloyd Jackson, and being around, and I think it's very, very relevant today, being around men of color. And although I was one of the smart ones from Dayton, Ohio, that came out of my high school, having guys that are much smarter than you, and them showing leadership in different areas, and also learning about history in a different way, African-American history taught by experts and scholars from all over the planet to really put things in perspective. And so they, in fact, determined what our mission was going to be. You actually become systematically exposed to a lot of things that really matter, that will last you a lifetime in terms of dealing in a potentially non-ethical world, in a world that may not consider being nice to people, treating people fairly. But that's one of the things that is very, very important at Morehouse. And, I was 17 years old when I went to Morehouse. They take a guy like me and turn us into leaders. And that's what we do. That's our mission. So I was very fortunate to go to that school, and those skill sets that I earned, because we did have to earn them. It's nothing that just that is absorbed into you. You have to really earn your stripes at the school. And those are the things that people are talking about now. And that translated directly into my working with seeing things in sports that I wasn't comfortable with, the amateurism, which I was on the front line and changing.
Right.
All Olympic sports to be able to make money, have contracts, and everything that you see today. the anti-doping situation when I was 20 years old and went to the Olympics in Montreal. And I saw these women from East Germany and Hungary, particularly in track and field. And I could not believe how, as we say, buff they were, and how manly they were with the deep voices and hair. And so I had nothing to start with. My motto was just get me to the track, and that's all I need. If I have track shoes and get to a track, have my equipment, then I'm good to go. So I never considered, anti-doping. I always just thought it was just horrible for sport. It was just straight out cheating. So that's kind of how I got into the anti-doping with the United States Anti-Doping Agency, of which I'm still the chairman emeritus. So that's very important for me to be able to offer athletes who don't want to cheat and should not be in a position where they have to cheat, to offer them a level playing field, and then have an agency in place that will protect that. As hard as it is and as tough as it is for us to protect that concept, which is very, very real.
And I'm sure that that ethical attitude obviously carries over into the workforce. Young people are probably asked to cut corners every day, in the workplace, and I'm sure your background would say no. Do it the right way.
And one of the things that I learned from being involved in these situations where it gets very touchy and very, very serious, it's gotten over the last 6 or 7 years with the whole Russia debacle with the cheating in the Olympics. I learned years and years ago, and you will be faced with situations in your life where there may be consequences that are quite obvious to you that you don't want to submit yourself to by doing the right thing. And one of my lessons is that doing the right thing is not always the best thing for you. But at some point, and many times in life, you're going to have to step up to the plate and make a stand for the right thing. And hopefully, there's in many cases consequences, but sometimes you have to forego the consequence and just do what you think is right and stick by it. Regardless of those consequences.
Excellent stuff. I just want to tell people that fieldX, we're on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook right now, and we are live. So this is very cool to have Dr. Moses impart some of this wisdom. Some questions, Dr. Moses, on your historic undefeated streak. Did you approach each race the same? What was your mindset like then?
I was never really focused on the races. I had a system of training where I averaged about 12 to 1,500 miles a year. I had about 13 elements, including weightlifting, running on the golf course, multiple different distances, running at the beach, different distances, plyometrics, stretching, hurdle technique workouts, physical therapy every day, which was a big part of my life. So I had a checklist every week, and I had to check off all these different elements during the 2 or 3 different phases of the season. And my job was just to complete those elements, and none of them had anything directly to do with the race. I never did anything in practice that came very close to running at race speed for too long or taking that kind of shock. So everything I did was really just checking off the elements, which means that psychologically you kind of start all over. And when you get onto the track for that first race, you really don't know what's going to happen. You really just have to have faith in the system. So I never thought about races, never thought about competitors, trained by myself. I was on the track 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. So by 11 o'clock, I'm moving on to my second workout. So it was the system that I put in place that allowed me to not even think about winning and running races or how fast. I just trusted that if I prepared myself correctly, kept from being injured, which was what my system was designed to do, then all I had to do was execute when the gun went off.
So the process was your consistency.
The process was my consistency.
And that carries over to the world, the work world, where people want young people to come in every day and be consistent and know what they're going to expect out of them. And you certainly, that was your process in terms of your workouts. Right.
And when I'm in the process of writing a book now, Pat Riley got to get to it before me because he talked about the zen of the game. And that was my experience, people. The track meets and the competition is 47 seconds. That's three-quarters of a second roughly. If I ran 20 races a year, that's 15 minutes. That's And on a day-to-day basis, when I'm out on the track, my running, what I did on a particular day, it might be 6 or 8 minutes. That would be a long, long workout, but generally like 2.5 to 4 minutes was all the running that I did. So everything was really compressed, very little time, and no room for error, because my mind, my mental clock was accurate to like 2/3 of a second over like a minute and a half while you're running. So things became very very succinct, and it's a skill that you learn by repetition year after year. And as they say, you know, if you don't put 10,000 hours into something, you probably won't be as good as a bunch of other people out there. And if I look back to the time I started in 6th, 7th grade, I did put in around 10 to 15,000 hours before I went to the Olympic Games, day after day after day. And I've logged in my log books about 26,000 miles of running.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And your organ
still have the same knees and the same vertebrae, so I'm in good shape.
And your organizational skills, obviously, I mean, that takes a lot of organization to keep track of all that.
Once again, I go back to the science, to writing up lab reports and doing experiments in chemistry and dissecting and studying biology. Everything has to be accurate. So that was one of the skills that really, I think that those were the greatest skills that I learned in life. And also languages. I took 2 years of French in high school and actually traveled to Paris when I was 14 years old. Took 2 more years in college, and then I took 2 years of German. So that's a skill set that all of our fieldXers really need to accomplish. You have to have another language, whichever one you choose. But the world is very, very big, and there's a lot of opportunity out there, and it really pays to learn to speak another language.
My European friends say, if you know 3 languages, you're trilingual. If you know 2 languages, you're bilingual. If you know 1 language, you're American.
That's right.
So that's a great piece of advice. We have another question for you. Hi, Dr. Moses. I am a senior studying biochemistry at Georgia Tech. Congratulations. I am hoping to work towards a PhD in pharmacology. Do you have any advice for staying grounded and motivated during graduate school?
Graduate school is a notch up from undergraduate. You know, they're saying now that if you don't have a college degree, they call it a valence factor. A college degree is great, but it works more against you if you don't have it than having one. Graduate school is it's a notch up. My son finishes master's degree in computer science, and it was a professional volleyball player. He finished that while he was playing pro. So I'm all for it, and I just think that the workload and the intensity and the expectation is a lot higher. Most students actually that complete graduate school become better students because you're forced to have to be efficient and study, and you're held to a higher standard. So I'm all for graduate school.
Yeah,
all for it.
Here's another one. What are some of the best practices you lean on? This is a good one. When you hit the hurdles in life that'll allow you to revert back to getting back on course with a positive attitude and a growth mindset, overcoming adversity.
Well, as a hurdler, you know, there's a big test for a hurdler. There's a lot of people who try to run hurdles, but they say at the end of the day, the real hurdlers are the ones that get up when they really get damaged, when they really fall hard.
Right.
And we always, if I was coaching people, and I've seen it happen many, many times, when you fall and have that big accident, that big incident, within 10 or 15 minutes, you got to go hit it hard again, like it never even happened. And so that's what's very unique about hurdlers. We don't quit. We're used to obstacles of all types. And we just figure, you have to figure how to get over, because you can't go around, how to get over the hurdles. Right. And you know that eventually you're going to hit them. The better you are, the more you're going to hit them at a much more efficient, full bore pace than everyone else. And so, you know, your possibility of getting hurt or injured goes up. But nonetheless, when you get to that level, you just attack. So you got to get up and keep on going.
When I think of your career, I wrote these down. Your career on the track has really been a metaphor for your life. Excellence, consistency, competition, knowledge, and I would probably think a little bit of grit and grind in there too. How do you see your career as an athlete and how it's translated into your life as we wrap this up, Dr. Moses?
Well, I think that the one thing that I grew up and I got from my parents and my parents' peers was passion and empathy. I think those things are very important. I was in probably the 6th or 7th grade, and I was working with my mom in the Model Cities program where they had preschoolers, serving them food, taking them out to play, going on field trips. I did that for several summers and volunteering for things. So I think that as an athlete, you have to demonstrate passion and empathy somewhere in your life. It's not just a hardcore endeavor where you just get up and go out and run. On a day-to-day basis, when I went out to practice, it was impossible. It took me 45 minutes every day just to warm up to get ready to run. And I had to be calm. I had to do my stretching and go through the slow motion system every single day. And I learned how to be empathetic to my body because many days it was hurting, and really understand what was going on and really listen to my body. And so throughout life, I've been able to be observant, have compassion for other people. It goes well beyond sport. And I'm lucky and very fortunate to have been in a situation where I can use sport to help other people through my work with lawyers. And that means as much to me as running did then.
Yes, I know that has been a passion of yours. Dr. Mandela was I'm sure, a hero of yours and a hero of all of us. Dr. Moses, you're a hero to a lot of people because not only of your success on the track, which again, you've set records that may never be broken. We appreciate your input today to our fieldXers. It's wonderful that they can share your success, and we thank you for your input today. It's wonderful to have you on and to impart some of your wisdom.
Thank you. And I just, for everyone's information, I want to give a shout out to my intern who was a fieldXer, Zoe Watkins. I'm sure she's smiling. I'm going to embarrass her. And also thanks to Leslie Maxey, who we worked with fieldX on before to put on the Olympic legacy reunion for the 1980 boycott. So I appreciate being a part of working with this organization, and hopefully I can help to build some better human beings and give them some experiences that they wouldn't get otherwise. So I appreciate the fieldX group and Sharon.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Sharon has done a wonderful job with fieldX. We thank you today, Doc. It's great to be on Coach's Corner. Remember, social media, fieldX, Facebook, Twitter, the whole gamut. So our first Coach's Corner is done, and we've had a very distinguished guest. Thanks again, Doc.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Fran.
Yep.